I'm Martin Young. I've worked at Berthon Boat Company for the past 50 years and I'm due to retire in January the 31st. I first joined Berthon Boat Company in 1973, having left Arnwood School. I came here as an apprentice joiner for 4 years, doing a 4-year course. The first year we spent at the Southampton Training College and then came to Berthon for the remaining 3 years. Having completed the course at Southampton Training College, I was awarded the top apprentice, and that was nationwide, countrywide. There were 75 applicants and I took the top prize of the TIGRE trophy. My influences when I joined Berthon Boat Company were Don Slocum, who was the joiner foreman at the time, Tony Keeping, Ron Hampton, who was probably the finest joiner I've ever worked with. He was very meticulous and you could not fault his workmanship whatsoever. Also Ken Walgar, whose son Ian Walgar now works at the Berthon Boat Company. He joined as an engineer and has now moved up to the project office. My first job arriving at Berthon was to work on a boat called ENVIRONIST. My first major job, was helping with the build of the 2 main house wheelhouse sliding doors. They were built in teak with teak panels. I made those doors with a joiner called Ron Mogg and installed them onto the boat. My next project after ENVIRONIST was a boat called SAVIK of the Don. It was a 60-foot motor yacht. So on SAVIK of the Don we used sycamore and rosewood, which are 2 very contrasting timbers. The sycamore being quite challenging to work with because it tends to be quite wild grain. It doesn't plane or machine particularly easily. The rosewood is a little bit easier to handle, but again quite a hard wood to plane. My next project after SAVIK of the Don was building a series of Fisher 46s. The hulls and superstructure came to us and then we fitted the interior out in teak. We built 9 Fisher 46s with slightly variants of interior layout. Some had showers in the aft cabin, some had double berths, some had single berths, but we built 9 of them in total. Marischal was the next large project. She was a 70-foot Campbell Nicholson designed hull. We built that interior in sycamore, again completely in sycamore, no two-tone, just in sycamore. As I explained before, it can be quite a difficult material to work with, but the finish was a lovely boat. The interior being in sycamore does make the boat very light. And then in the mid-1980s, we built Arun class lifeboats for the RNLI. These were built in mahogany plywood with mahogany trim. The next major project was a 1957 sailing yacht called Drumbeat. This was a restoration. We fitted new joinery throughout the boat and the joinery was American cherry. Again, a lovely wood to work with, easy to machine and has a lovely orange shade to it. Having taken over from Don Slocum as the joiner foreman at the age of 31, Having passed so much of his knowledge on to me, it was a privilege to take over his position. It was part way through the build of a 80-foot motor yacht called DALVINA, which I then completed the build. The interior was a foam cord plywood board with teak veneer with solid teak trims. The main reason for this was to keep the boat as light as possible. It also made good soundproofing with the foam core. She had, I can't remember how many cabins she had. Yeah, a lot of cabins, and a very complex spiral staircase, aft spiral staircase.
Did you make the spiral
We
staircase?
did. Yeah. Another major project we did was a boat called MARTANN. She was a 60-foot aluminium hull. Joinery was made of bird's eye maple and maple. The panels, all the panels of the joinery, doors, etc., were made of bird's eye maple and then framed in maple with a fabric bulkheads. This is bird's eye maple. It's very distinctive, and then that was framed in solid clear maple. So the joinery panels really stood out. MARTANN has now returned to Berthon and has now been renamed Silver Space. I recently went down to the boat to redo some of the vinyl bulkheads. The owner still had some of the original material left, so it made the repair very easy. Another project that I've worked on was a boat called TIGRE D'OR, which was a 90-foot barge. That came to us partly finished, and we then finished the boat off. I remember having to make a large U-shaped overhead galley cupboard unit, which was again quite a challenging thing with laminating a lot of corner doors, not straight, and so that became also a major project. We also fitted out the wheelhouse and the main helm station to complete the final build of the boat. We've also, over the years, have built several pilot boats, for the port authorities, also fishery patrol. But the joinery in these boats tend to be of a formica covered plywood, purely for ease of clean and maintenance. From 1993 to 2003, we built 20 Severn Class lifeboats for the RNLI. The interior of these lifeboats were fitted out with an aerospace board called F-board, which is a honeycomb material sheet with an aluminium interior and two thin layers of glass fibre either side. This was for weight. The whole of the interior of the boat was built with this, including all of the storage containers, because of its lightweight. Following the completion of the RNLI Severn Class series of lifeboats, we then went back to traditional joinery on a 1936 gentleman's motor yacht that was 80 foot long, called Bounty. The interior of this was mahogany, a traditional joinery style. From 2010 to 2015, we built 12 Shannon class lifeboats for the RNLI. The interior of these boats were again made from the F-board aerospace sheets. I've acquired other skills during my 50 years at the Berthon Boat Company. This includes GRP and composite work, making moulds for various things. I have also laid teak decks, and also have had to do invisible repairs to joinery items that have been damaged. Over the 50 years that I've been at Berthon Boat Company, I've taken on the role of apprentice machine training. I've also trained up many apprentices over that 50-year period, including people such as Curly, Dave Bolwell, who has now taken over my role as the joinery foreman, and I wish him well. I have many stories over my 50 years at Berthon. I need to be careful what I say because some of them are still employed by the Berthon Boat Company. But we have had many Christmas parties which have been interesting. We used to have a Christmas turkey, of which one year myself and Tony Hum tried to ride home while rather inebriated with the turkeys on our handlebars of our bike, hence to say that we didn't quite make it home before they fell off. I met my wife, Anita, who worked in the Berthon accounts department at a Christmas party for the company. We have now been married for 40 years, and we have just celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary in September 2023. My plan for retirement is I have a daughter that lives in Australia, Perth, Western Australia, and I intend to spend as much time as I can in Australia with them because I have two very young grandchildren out there, one of which I didn't get to meet until she was 18 months old because of COVID. So I just want to spend as much time as I can with them. I wish to thank all of the guys that I've worked with over this 50 years. There is just too many hundreds of people have passed through with me, and I can't believe how many great friends I've now made through this company, and will remain friends with them for as long as possible.